Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature. It is time for that weekly dose of some obscurities in literature. Today we're going to take a look at a book that I've probably mentioned on this channel before, and I don't think I've ever actually shown it off. And if I have, then I'm going to be shocked because I would have remembered it. But I know I've talked about this artist before, and this is Monokubo. Monokubo is a Japanese artist who, I would say, for lack of better terminology, specializes in giant animals and eldritch things, which is just an interesting mishmash of concepts, but really that's really what her work does. And this book in particular that we're going to look at today, Nenashigami, I'm thinking of something else. Nenashigami is probably my favorite of her works, and I've got them all, and if people are really truly interested, let me know in the comments. I'll dig them all out at some point or another. We can maybe focus on one each time. But this book has always really resonated with me because of the landscapes that are often included in her work. One of the artists that really immediately spring to mind when I see her work is Simon Stalenhag's stuff, Tales from the Loop, Tales from the Flood, Things from the Flood, all those books, in that you have very out of place things in a very, I don't want to say dull, but serene, typical environment, and oftentimes an environment that no longer exists or ideally exists in, some kind of perfect world. And so that's one of the things that always really, like I said, has resonated with me. I've spent a lot of time in the Japanese countryside. In-laws live in primary rice country. So it's very much certain times of the year, it looks like this. And, the various just dilapidated, weather-beaten shacks, sheds, and buildings that often just continue to stand, even though they're not in use anymore. You see a lot of that out there. The giant multi-limbed creatures, not so much. And one of the things that's really kind of interesting about her work is that there's rarely any actual faces. You don't see the faces of both the humans or the entities, for lack of a better word, that are often here. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of kind of fun, whimsical stuff. And for as dark and as dreary as this looks, that's not the case, and that's not the feeling that a lot of this kind of brings to mind for me. There's some serious dark stuff that she's done, but like I said, having spent a lot of time in the countryside and having just, kind of watching nature take its toll and, run its course on anything, everything in sight, and especially when you spend a lot of time in areas that have a lot of shrines and local customs, things like that, I just, it gives me this really cool kind of feeling. And again, oftentimes another thing that you'll see in her work is just this concept of everything just going and floating and going away. But again, nothing is ever seen truly. In fact, there's a couple pieces of her art where it's like when they do get seen, there's like a before and after piece that she did that pretty neat. We'll get to that. Other interesting thing about this book is there's not a lot of text, and the text that there is just written like in a crazy illegible font. I can't read it. I tried having family read it, and they weren't any better about it either. But again, it's kind of this surreal and mundane, especially as you're kind of going into that territory. You see signs like this all over the countryside as you go to the local places. Someone's got their bass way too loud outside. Another concept you often see in her work are these just kind of disembodied limbs doing things, since arranging the plants there. And again, the humans you rarely will see the faces of. It's everything else you might get lucky. I like that there's often no explanation for a lot of the work. It's just there. trying to remember, was a Borges. There was some short story I remember about like a person found like an angel with its wings gone in the backyard of their home. I feel like it was Borges. I don't remember now. You often find other multi-limbed creatures often existing in her work. As I said, I'm guessing there is an overlying theme to the lack of facial expressions and features, and you can see, like in this piece right here, they took the buckets off their head. In addition to a lot of faceless children, you'll often see these limbs and parts of just giant creatures. Giant creatures feature a lot in her work. Floating children. As you have like giant monstrosities just kind of wandering around. Again, gives a bit of that Stalag vibe. And the locales in these, I mean, I've seen so many places like this. Yeah, there's definitely some creepy pieces in here too. There are some nicer ones. Because everything's like turning into trees and things. Those are all umbrellas. It's a nice gloomy day while I'm filming this too, so that just kind of adds to the charm and the ambiance. This is one I've always liked. Everybody in the village on parade. There's one of these somewhere where it's like, yeah, this is one I've always liked. Kid came home from school, having had to put all the futons and blankets and things away myself on many occasions. This one really hits home for me, but I love the fact you got the kid tucked in with a pair of giant hands. Like I said, they're not all just creepy, morbid, kind of disturbing pieces. There's plenty of them. This is the one I was talking about earlier, kind of a before and after. You have the before and the after. The funny thing is, I'm skipping quite quickly and all throughout the book, too. Again, and then one of the other things that she's famous for is pictures of giant animals interacting with people. And those are a lot more kind of fun, happy, cute, for lack of better terminology. They're also just odd. And somebody who's taught for many years using books by authors like Chris Van Allsburg, who has a very similar sense of just kind of odd, off, mysterious, unexplainable things in their work. Again, this stuff really hits home. Having walked, driven, rode across many bridges like this, just admiring the countryside. Unfortunately, not often during cherry blossom season, but as the clouds go rolling by. Maybe Turbo Baba is in there. And then we have a lot of random pieces in the back. Here, probably this is one of the most Stalag-like illustrations, I think, in the entire thing. it's on fire as well. I'm not sure and why there's a giant cassowary looking dinosaur-like monster. Beats me. Again, the giant animals. Always a motif, as well as stuff floating into the sky. So yeah, like I said, there are a lot of themes in this particular book that you can find amongst all of her others. I believe there's at least 4, including this, that I can think of off the top of my head. I know her work has been featured in different anthologies as well, so if you have an eye for this kind of stuff, I know I showed off that Anomaly omnibus before, and I was going to bust it out again today, and I don't know where it is. It should be around here somewhere, but it's not, so I can't show you. But yeah, her work's been around. You can find it on the internet as well. But for me, having it in a nice quality book is always preferable than just clicking and saving and putting it into a folder on a hard drive somewhere. So if you're into this kind of stuff, honestly, I don't think you'll be disappointed with any of her books. Some of them have a bit more of a narrative to the pieces than others. Some of them are just kind of a mix of different things. And some of them are just big, cute, fluffy animals that are way too big for their surroundings. So do take a look. And like I said, if you're interested, if you guys really want, I've got them all. So if you want me to bring them on over, just let me know and we'll showcase them when we get a chance. So with that said then, this has been High Lord Tamerlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.